Hello, this is the Content Analysis Research Methods video. If I can just remind you as you listen to this video to write the Cornell notes as best you can and also answer the questions that I'll ask as we go through the video. Once you've finished, write this up as neatly as you can into your mind map and have a little look through some of the additional textbooks. Okay, so what is content analysis? Simply, this is a review of artifacts from a real-life setting. Now, when I say artifacts, what I mean is human-produced items. So this could be newspaper articles, it could be photographs, it could be a Twitter feed. Anything that's created by humans can be put through a process of content analysis, where we'll look at it carefully and we'll try and see what we can gain from it. So usual examples are advertisements, diaries perhaps, newspapers, TVs, and letters. So this is kind of an observation. We are observing the behavior of individuals, but indirectly through the things that they've created. So the way that we would run a content analysis would have some similarities to a structured observation. So when we talk about time and event sampling, you can see what we've put for observation, and also kind of importantly, the behavioral categories. So before we do a content analysis, we would probably want to have a little look through the content that we're going to be analyzing, and we're going to want to come up with a couple of behavioral categories that we will use when we do our main analysis. Okay, so we might want to use quantitative data. So if we use quantitative data, then this data could be graphed and analyzed. So if we've identified our behavioral categories, then it's simply a matter of recording the number of times those behavioral categories occur. So as an example, what I'm going to mention is probably one of the only content analysis that we will come to on the course, which is within relationships, and where advertisements, personal advertisements for looking for relationships were analysed, and in there they were looking for what type of words do males use when they're looking for a partner, and what kind of words do females use when they're looking for a partner. Is there some sort of difference between the physical words that might be used and the personality words? Now the numbers here that I've got here aren't from the study. I've just popped them in to kind of demonstrate a difference, and you can see here this is simply being a quantitative approach, where every time a looking for sentence was used which had a physical aspect to it, a tally chart was made. Say there was 113 words of males looking for physical things with from their partners. But when it came to personality, actually very rarely males would actually talk about looking for a good personality in some way. So maybe they say it was about 12. And then we can see perhaps the flip reverse is when females looking for advertisements were analysed, they focus less on the physical and more on personality. So we can see here that content analysis of large amounts of data can tell us something quite interesting about an aspect of human behavior. In this case, what males and females look for as partner preferences. We might do this in a slightly different way. Instead of just having the numbers, our data collection table could be qualitative in nature. So we could actually list the types of words that are used, whether physical or personality. So a male, when they talk about physical characteristics, they might use the term slim or pretty. When they mention words that imply personality characteristics, it could be good sense of humor and kind. For a female, they could be looking for handsome. They could, but for physical, and then for personality, they could say rich or driven, and that might link into some evolutionary explanations of mate choice. Okay, so we've done our content analysis. What's good? What's bad about it? Well, because this has been created in the real world, because this is already pre-existing bits of content, there aren't going to be any demand characteristics because the people making these didn't know they were going to be observed on the basis of them. And also these are people really interacting in real life to a certain extent. So perhaps we can say there's high ecological validity. The settings in which these were created were day-to-day settings. Also, it's very easy to get a sample. So for this study, it was just simply getting some newspapers with looking for ads and doing some data analysis on it. So you're not relying, as you are in other research methods, on getting participants, getting them to come in, putting them through all the processes. To get your sample, it's very, very quick and easy. Also, if you've got the original data that you've used, it's very easily replicated by someone else. You could just pass them all of your, say you're using Twitter feeds on a particular hashtag over one day and you're tracking the language that is used, you could pass that over to another researcher who could replicate your study. Some downsides perhaps, as this is content created by individuals, and sometimes it might not necessarily be too clear what they're talking about. There is a role here for the researcher being a little bit less objective than they should be in interpreting what's meant by some of this content. So even though you've got behavioral categories, you might struggle to say, well, is this really a word that's about personality or is it not? Also, it might just generally lack validity. Obviously, some of this data already comes with its own inherent bias. I mean, for example, the research above might have social desirability bias. It might be that females would look for more physical characteristics in males, but didn't want to come across in a particular way. So, so manipulate their own results. It's not that they're not looking for these, but they didn't feel able to mention it. And also, quite often, if it's a diary or if it's a a newspaper article, these are often a measure of opinions, not a direct measure of behavior like you would get in a piece of research. Okay, so what I would like you to do before the next class is, I haven't told you who did the research for this content analysis. I'd like you to try and find out what the names of the researchers were and try and find out a little bit more information about what they did and how they did it, and have that ready for me in the next class.